Vintage shoes are one of the most profitable things to be selling right now on eBay, but you need to know what to source so that you don't waste money as well as storing inventory that doesn't sell. And in this video, I have got you covered. I'm going to show you exactly what is selling on eBay right now when it comes to vintage shoes for both men and women. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Lee Meyer. I'm a stay-at-home mom of four, and I've made well over $100,000 flipping used clothes and other items on sites like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. Now I'm on a mission to help at least 1,000 resellers be able to hit that $100,000 mark out for themselves. To help you out, I've got a load of free goodies for you. You'll find them down here in the description below this video. This includes things like my best brands list, the list of 150 brands that has led me to that $100,000 mark and beyond. You'll also find a link to sign up for my free $100,000 reseller challenge. In the free challenge, I show you exactly how to hit $100,000 for yourself this year. It's not about hustling harder. It's not about putting in more time. And I show you exactly how to reach $100,000 in very minimal time. In that free challenge, you're also going to discover the very best things to be selling right now in today's market. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the topic of today's video, and that is vintage shoes. I've got these all pulled up on my computer. You're going to be seeing actual sales that have come in the last 24 to 48 hours of me filming this video for you. All right, this first item that I have for you, I'm not exactly sure how you say it, but it's a skateboarding brand. Audio, it's ADIO. Could be saying that wrong. Here is the logo on the back of the shoes, and then that's what those shoes look like. Those sold for $75. This is a pair of Doc Martens, and a lot of vintage Doc Martens are selling. These do say made in England on the bottom, and these are purple. So anything that's a unique color or unique design, those are usually going to sell for a little bit more. And those sold for almost $200. This is a pair of Steve Madden pumps. You can see the label there on the inside. They're a T-strap, and then they've got some ruffles down the straps. Not the best of photos, but those sold for $58. This is a pair of Adidas Superstar. So they do say that on the inside of the shoe there as far as that Superstar. And the Superstars have this kind of rubber toe on them. That's what those look like. You can see that they're pretty well discolored. They're definitely not in their original bright white condition. And then those sold for $75. This is a pair of really interesting boots, and it's a brand, and this one it looks French. I'm not sure how to say it. Roluc. Ideal. It's ROLUC. And then that's what those boots look like. So they're just fur is what they are. It says goat fur. And then those sold for $206. So definitely a lot of unique items when it comes to vintage shoes. This is another pair of Doc Martens, and these you can see how they're really well broken in, like broken down. They're on the inside. And this is a pair of sandals that has this flower cut out on them. Those ended up selling for $50 even in that condition where they're kind of falling apart. And that is a lot of the problem with some of these older shoes, especially Doc Martens, is they're really kind of breaking down, glue's breaking down, but people are still buying them. Just make sure that you note any kind of flaws like what you just saw. This is a pair of boots from Red Wing. There's the tag there, made in the USA. These boots have a ton of wear to them. So there's the toe of the boot, just considerable wear to these boots and scuffing. And see if I can get a better picture of what these boots look like. eBay does now allow you to put 24 photos, so it gives plenty of room for sellers to be able to describe the condition of the item and show it visually to buyers. This one sold for $175, even with all of that scuffing and wear. This is a pair of boots from a brand that is called Corral. Now, as I'm going through this video, you're going to probably notice that there are a lot of Western style cowboy boots. And that is really common for just cowboy boots in general to sell really well. And there's a really big market for those. Now, this brand Corral, is a fairly common brand when it comes to Western style boots. But really be on the lookout for any other Western style boots, cowboy boots. And there's what the bottom of those look like. The brand name is there on the bottom as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to identify if items are well made. I'm going to show you in uh, some other listings that sold, but it's really about, items that are unique. You can see the studs, some cutout details here on these boots. They've got a cross here on the front as well as at the toe and wings. Those sold for $150, but it's not always about the brand. So I'm going to show you a couple others that aren't really mainstream brands, and I'm also going to show you what to look for. And so this is a pair of American Eagle women's shoes. There's what the bottom of those looks like, AE for American Eagle. Here's the tag on the inside. So this is American Eagle fitters. Side note, there is another brand called American Eagle that was sold by Payless Shoe Source. I'm actually going to be showing you another one of those here in a little bit. Which is it's an entirely different brand, just a very similar name. So there's what those look like, kind of a Doc Marten looking style, and then those sold for $45. This is another pair of Doc Martens you're seeing made in England here on the bottom, and some sandals, and they are have quite a bit of stuffing and wear to those insoles. Those sold for $125. This is from Skechers and it's called something else. You can kind of make it out here upside down. Unfortunately, they didn't have a better picture of the tag. This is really popular for kind of Y2K era shoes, and you're going to see a lot of Y2K items as we go through this video. But this wooden platform is very common from that era. So this one sold for $50. There's lots of other brands besides Skechers that made shoes like this. This is a pair of boots from Minnetonka, so you can see the marking there on the inside of the boot. They are a fringe style moccasin, and then those sold for $48. Real quick, these are sold items because I get somebody every single video that says these aren't sold. Okay, across the picture here, you're going to see sold, and I've hand selected these items where it says or best offer. These actually sold for full price, and a best offer was not accepted. When a best offer is accepted, it will say underneath this that a best offer was accepted. And in the rare case that I do show an item like that, I will show you how much the offer was. And I do have a video I'm going to link to up here where I show you how to be able to see how much items sold for when a best offer was accepted. This is another pair of shoes from American Eagle. This is a men's pair of boots. So there's the tag on the inside. It says American Eagle Outfitters, and it has AE there on the bottom. That's what those look like. Those went for almost $66. This is a pair of Steve Madden boots. That's the tag on the inside. And then they've got a dragon design on outside. Now, I've mentioned Y2K a few times, and this dragon design or any sort of dragon design was really common around that time period, right around, the turn of the millennium, and those sold for $53. This is a pair of Reebok, and I did see several of these selling, and these are just a kind of a white high top. That's what the tag looks like. Those went for $72. This is another pair of Western boots. This is from a brand that's called Anderson Bean. Not the best tag photo here, but you can kind of make it out upside down. There's a A and a B. And then that's what those boots look like. They've got this beautiful ostrich leather there at the bottom. And then those sold for $160. This is a pair of boots from American Eagle, not American Eagle Outfitters. So I mentioned that Payless Shoe Source had a brand called American Eagle that probably would not be allowed anymore just because it's so close to American Eagle Outfitters. You can see here in the bottom of the boot, it says American Eagle. That is not American Eagle Outfitters. And then that's what those look like. They have a lot of creasing to them, quite a bit of wear, and those sold for $114 just because of the style. This is a pair of boots from Tony Lama, which is another big name when it comes to Western style cowboy boots. And it's actually a line called El Rey. So that's what you're seeing here on the tag, El Rey. And then Tony Lama also right here with the star. Tony Llama. And here's what these boots look like. And those sold for $429. I'm going to show that alligator leather there because that is just so beautiful. This is a pair of boots from Nine West. Called Cloud 9, another item, that's kind of straight out of Y2K. It's got that big block heel, and those sold for $85. This is a pair of boots that was made by Nike, and it's called All Conditions Gear. You can't quite see it all here in the bottom of the shoe. And the abbreviation for this, by the way, is ACG. These are selling really well. So again, here on the bottom, you're going to see the ACG mark. It's upside down, unfortunately. And then that's what those look like. Those went for $49, but there are several that have just sold in the last few hours that are Nike ACG. This is a pair of shoes from the brand LEI, which is a really big Y2K brand. By the way, if you're looking for other Y2K brands, I'm going to link up here to a video where I go over more Y2K brands that are selling for quite a bit of money. So this is just a pair of pumps. Those sold for $45. This is another pair of boots. And with these, I really want to show the construction. So I mentioned it's a lot of times about the construction of the boot, maybe not so much the name. So you can see the stitching there along the bottom, as well as on the heel, you can see those nails. So that is hammered on. There's the marking on the inside. This is called Thorough Good. That's in the bottom of the shoe. And that is what those boots look like. Those went for $130. This is another big brand when it comes to Western style boots called Acme. So you can make it out there on that tab. This is what, again, that stitching there along the bottom you're seeing. This is what those boots look like. So they've got the flower detailing, they've got embroidery. Definitely a lot of detail goes into the construction of these boots. This one sold for almost $124. This is a pair of Vans skater shoes. You can see on the outside, it's got that V there on the outside. Not the best when it comes to labels with pictures from this one, but that one went for $98. This is another pair of Western cowboy boots. This one does not have a great brand tag, but definitely a unique design. Is from a brand called Zodiac. Those sold for $90. Now, I do have a brand new keyword poster that covers specifically shoes, and that's going to have all of the keywords to be able to correctly describe your items when it comes to listing shoes, because that's an important piece of getting your listings found and sold. Now, this next item is another pair of Western boots. This is from a brand that's called T.O. Stanley, and you can see on the inside here the embroidery of their logo. Now, you're also going to notice some handwritten numbers in this boot, and that can be a really good indication, whether it's clothes or other items, that when items are numbered like this, they're oftentimes, something of value. So that can be a little trick there to be able to identify anything that has a little bit higher value that is handmade. And there's those boots also for $295. This is another pair of Doc Martens. That's what those look like. Those sold for $65. This is another pair that looks similar to Doc Martens. So it does say made in Mexico. It's stamped there. That's what the sole looks like. So again, very similar to a Doc Marten style. It's actually a brand that is called GBX, a little bit worn off there. And they do kind of have that chunky look to them, just like Doc Martens have. That's what the stamp looks like on the outside here, where you can see GBX again. And what with this brand, what is selling is a lot of their older items that are like this. And this pair sold for about $35. This is a pair of shoes from LEI. There's a lace-up detail on the side. You can see that big block heel, and those sold for $38. Now, items like that I've seen sell for well over $100, so you do need to know to price your items, because if you price it for 38, you're never going to get 138, which is probably more, what those should have gone for. This is a really interesting pair of boots, and I'm not entirely sure on the history history of this, but you can see that there's a stamp here on the inside, says September 10, 1980 something. That's what those look like. I saw a few of these that were selling just in the last, 24 to 48 hours. Those sold for $105. This is a pair of diesel shoes. So you can see diesel up here at the top, and then there's what the bottom looks like. It's kind of a D, and there's what those look like. Those went for 59 to $59. This is a pair of Converse high tops, and here's what those look like. Now, it used to be that only the only Converse really were selling were items from the 70s or really rare items. It's becoming more common for items that are a little bit newer. Now these are probably from the 90s, almost probably pushing Y2K era. They're selling for a decent amount as well too. So those went for $100. This is a pair of boots from a brand that's called Report, but really it's sold for the style of those boots. So you can see it's got some faux fur, it's got lace up the front, and then those sold for $48 because they are really from the Y2K era with that style. This is a pair of really interesting boots. This is from the brand Tiger, which is by Asics, and it does have the markings on the outside. If you've seen Asics shoes, that should look familiar. But what these are is kind of a tennis shoe with a boot attached to the top, all one piece. Those sold for $150. This is another common brand when it comes to boots. It's called Nakona, so you can see the mark there. Over here, you can also see a USA flag. That can be another really good indication if you come across items and maybe don't recognize the brand, that it is something worth picking. This is rattlesnake leather, by the way, and that's what those boots look like. Those sold for $357. This is another pair of American Eagle Outfitters boots, and those sold for $49. This is a pair of mud slide sandals. They are a platform wedge, and those went for $39 from that Y2K era. This is a pair of men's dress shoes from a brand called Florsheim. I'm not sure how you say it, but they do make some really interesting items. Some are more on the plain side, some are more intricately designed, but you can see on this one the construction of that sole. And that, again, that's a really good indication that that's a quality item. This is what these shoes look like, and definitely more on that intricate design side. I don't have a good picture of the label of this, but I do in a second on another pair. Those went for $234. This is from Lower East Side. This was sold at Payless Shoe Source. The other foot actually has the original tag in here with that price of $19.99. That's what those shoes look like, and those sold for $35. And this is LA Gear. This is a style of shoe called the Regulator, and these are a high top sneaker. Those sold for $150. This is another pair of Doc Martens. They do have made in England there on the bottom, a fisherman style sandal, and then those sold for $150. I actually think I had the same exact ones in that same exact size. Now, I do want to take a second to invite you to the Empowered Reseller membership program. This is where I'm able to answer questions, help you personally. I'm able to even do things like store reviews, account reviews, listing reviews. If you're having trouble getting items sold, this is a great way to get a pair of extra eyes on your items and get some professional advice about how to improve your listings. It also comes with an entire course master vault. I do live trainings with members every single month, as well as we have a supportive VIP community, and I can't wait to welcome you into it soon. This next item is another pair of those Converse All-Star. Now, you are seeing with these made in the USA there, and they're just a red pair of low-top sneakers. Those sold for $120. This is a pair of Puma, so there's the tag there on the inside, and these are just some women's slip-ons, and those went for about $40. This is from a brand called City Snappers, but really it's more about the style with this one. Again, it's got that big wedge as well as that stacked heel. That one went for $65. This is from the brand SAS, so not the best photos with this one, but I was actually surprised looking back through the last 24 to 48 hours of sold items that there were were not more from this brand. So it will say SAS Comfort and then made in the USA. These are definitely comfort style shoes. There's a little bit better picture there for you, some other good keywords. And I see that they did hit this on the keywords eclectic grandpa core, or they could have used just grandpa core. Women's shoes use grandma core. These are really good shoes to use those types of aesthetic keywords. And this one sold for $55. This is from a Birkenstock brand that is called Footprint. So they do have some other lines that they sell under other names. Now, the way to be able to spot these, this is one that was new to me, but the way to be able to spot these is from this little foot here. You'll see the same exact thing with Birkenstocks as well as their other lines. So this is just a pair of shoes, and they have a lot of scuffing there at the toes. Those went for $36. Now, this is a really interesting item. There's the bottom of the boot. Again, notice the construction there with these. These have some flaws. So you're going to notice there, this tab is pretty well worn. There's some threads coming loose, some cracking there in the leather, definitely some wear with this pair of boots. There's on the inside of those, but it's a unique design. So it's got a horse and then a sun, and this pair of boots actually sold for $500. Now, this is a pair of unbranded flip-flops, and you're going to be a little bit surprised when you see the price, considering these are flip-flops and they're not even any sort of certain brand. They have this striping on them. They've got fabric, straps, and those sold for $35 for unbranded flip-flops. But again, it's all about the style. I've mentioned this in other videos when it comes to vintage items, especially 80s-ish era, even 90s era. Those stripes and just like what you're seeing, and those colors are really, really big. Now, this next one is another floor sheen. So there is what that looks like on the inside. You can see the brand name there. These are a little bit maybe less intricate than those other ones that we took a look at, but those sold for $130. This is an interesting one from the store GH Bass called Sunjuns, I think is what how you say that. And it's just a pair of sandals, and there's lots of these selling, but those sold for $50. This is a pair of shoes with Goodyear soles, so you can make out here good and then year on those, and that's what those look like. Those went for $75. This is another from that ACG line from Nike. This is actually a pair of water sandals, water socks, aqua socks. Those went for $54. This is another one that sold for the style and not necessarily the brand. So the brand there is No Parking, but it's got that lug sole, that platform, that wedge, and then patent leather. And those went for $49. This is another one from Nike. This is just a white pair of sneakers. Those went for $48. This is from a brand that is called CVs, and that's what those shoes look like. Those went for almost $60. This is another pair of boots from the brand Red Wing. Here's what those look like. So you can see that they're pretty well destroyed there. And then those sold for $70. So don't be afraid to pick those up, even if they're in well-worn condition. Now, if you're looking for other solid brands, I do have a big money brand shoe guide that goes into over 120 brands. I'm going to link to that over here. It has all of the tag photos so you know exactly what to look for, all of the done for you research. Now, this is from the brand Timberland, and these are Gore-Tex. So that's another good indication anytime you see a Gore-Tex label that those items will usually sell for a little bit more money because of the waterproofing. So those went for $190. This is from Skechers. So you can see here on the bottom as well as the side where it says Skechers, definitely Y2K era with these. Those went for $60. This is from Puma, again, another Y2K era item, and then those sold for $50. This is a brand that's called Predictions. You can just make it out there in the insole, and this is a brand that was sold at the Payless Shoe Source, and these are just a pair of saddle shoes. Those went for $33. This is a set that they actually sold together of a bag, a Nike duffel bag, as well as Nike high tops. That one went for $230 for the set. This is an interesting Converse one. It's just a slide sandal, and then those sold for $70. This is another Nike pair of shoes for you, and the seller did something really smart if using the keyword Michigan color. So anybody who's searching for that team or they want to have those colors, they're gonna pop this listing, is gonna pop up in the search results, and then those sold for $150. Definitely a unique color combo with that. This one is from Exhilaration from Target, and this is a pair of clogs. They do kind of have a faux wood look there, and those went for $35. This is another pair of Converse All-Star. You're seeing made in USA here on the back. Scuffing and discoloration there on the toe, discoloration on the inside, and then those sold for $105. This is Dr. Scholl's, and you can see on the metal buckle here, it says Dr. Scholl's. Some of these labels are kind of worn off. They'll normally be on this wood, but like I mentioned, they wear off pretty quickly. Those went for almost $7. This is from a brand that is called Danner. This is another really solid brand when it comes to shoes and boots. It is a USA brand, and there's what these boots look like. They have quite a bit of wear to them, even quite a bit of wear back there at those heels. And then those went for $93. This is a pair of Nike Shocks. So you can see the coils here in the back, not the best of photos with this, but there were several of these selling in recent solds, and this one went for $56. This is from the brand Solomon, and it's got kind of this big tread on it for the snow. Those went for $100. This is from the brand SAS. So apparently there was another one that sold from this brand, that Comfort brand. This is women's sandals, and then those went for $45. This is another pair of Doc Martens. These are extremely well worn. The leather's cracking there on them, and then those went for $50. If you're enjoying this video and wanting to dive in deeper into more vintage items to sell, I do have a complete guide to selling vintage clothing where I give you 150 different brands and items to be on the lookout for. So I'm going to link to that over here. This is from GH Bass. So you can see the marking there on the inside of these sandals. And then those sold for $80. A little bit questionable maybe if they're truly vintage. That would kind of be my only caution with those. Now with this one, this is another one of those cold weather boots. That one went for $95 with one bid on it. By the way, the items that are selling on auction, I will usually always mention how many bids. All the rest of these are just fixed price. Now, this is a pair of shoes from Bongo. They don't have a great picture when it comes to the tag, but it's definitely, a wedge Y2K look. Those went for $78. This is a Doc Marten shoe, and this is definitely an interesting, more rare design, and those sold for $100. This is a pair of boots, and this is not any sort of special brand, but it is leather, and it's made in China. So that's a little bit interesting, when it comes to boots like this. Most of the ones that you see selling for a lot of money are made in Mexico or, the US. Bunking Bronco there on the outside of those, and those went for $158, I believe, just because of that style, that design there. This is a brand that's very similar to Doc Marten, and it is called Grip Fast. So you can see the bottoms are very similar. You can also see all of the dirt and grass and everything that's there on those soles. Some scuffing there at the toes, and those went for $60. This is one from Reebok, and this profile, by the way, this kind of diagonal is really indicative of Y2K. I'm not sure why, but a lot of shoes did have that look to them. Not a great tag photo with this one, but that one went for $36. This is another pair of Doc Martens. This is an older item. This one is made in England, and you can kind of barely just make out the marking there on the inside. There's what the bottoms look like. They also say made in England. And then there's those shoes. Those went for $100. This is another pair of those Skechers style sneakers. Those went for $75. This is from a vintage brand that's called Kangaroos. There's what those look like with the kangaroo there on the outside. and then those sold for $230. Now, this one is another pair of Skechers. Those went for $68, even with a little bit of dirt. This is a pair of boots from Westco. You can see there it says West Coast Shoe, nailed sole. So let's take a look at these soles really quick so you can see all of the nails in those. And then that's what those boots look like. Those sold for $200. Now, this is a brand that's called Circle S. They don't normally make a lot of shoes. That's what those look like. But those sold for $45. Pretty much just for the style and the coloring with those. This is another one from the brand Floor Shine, and those went for $144 with 12 bids on it. Now, this is an interesting pair of sneakers from Adidas, kind of a boot style high top, and this one went for $100. Another keyword to use with this is Missy Elliott, and I saw some other items that are selling using Missy Elliott, the wrapper. And knowing about pop culture can be really important when it comes to selling clothing. I know for me, I'm not super into pop culture, except when it comes to reselling and how those different keywords can be used in items. Because a lot of people do go after different celebrity items or different items from TV shows or movies. And so I do cover all of that inside of my keywords pop culture guide. I'm going to link to that over here. This is a pair of shoes from the brand called Mindell. So you can make that out there. The giveaway on this one for me, I don't recognize the brand so much, but Gore-Tex. Again, anytime you see that Gore-Tex label, can usually indicate it's a more quality item as well as being weatherproof. And so those sold for $55. This is a pair of shoes that did not sell necessarily for the brand. So there's the brand label there. And then there's what those look like. So they're wooden and again, Y2K era, the wooden style was really big. Those went for $35. This is another pair of Adidas Superstars. Those sold for $65. Another pair of Skechers. There were a lot of those selling, and that went for $70. This is a pair of Diesel, and so you can kind of make it out there on the side where it says Diesel, and then those sold for $60. This is another Dr. Scholl, so you can see here how it's pretty well worn off there on the wood, but it will be on the buckle, and of course that's going to wear off. So that's going to be the best place to, correctly identify those. Those went for $30. This is from Reebok. This is a line that was early 2000s. It's called S. Carter, and this is a pair of sneakers. It's actually from a line by the rapper Jay-Z for Reebok, and that a pair went for $100. Here's another pair of Dr. Scholl's slide sandals, and then those sold for $36. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up as well as consider subscribing to the channel. Now, if you're looking for more vintage items to sell, I've got you covered. I'm going to link to a video up here that is going to walk you through even more vintage items to be on the lookout for. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you haven't yet signed up for that free $100,000 reseller challenge, you're going to want to do that now. $100,000 is closer and more doable than you think. Again, the link is down here in the description below this video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you in the next video soon.